which, thanks to the explosion of new media, we all were able to watch in all of its horror. Mr. Rupert Murdoch and the others no longer control our access to information. We have Al Jazeera, we have Press TV, we have the internet, we have the means to know the truth now, and that genie is out of the bottle and will never be able to be put back. That devastation that you saw is still exactly the position as it was when the bombs temporarily, no doubt, fell silent. Why? Because no reconstruction is possible because of the siege. Why is there a siege? Because the Palestinian people voted in a way, in the only, with respect to Syria, a country I admire, still the only free and democratic election ever held in any Arab country, elected the government in Palestine, which the people in power in Washington, in London, in Tel Aviv didn't like. Now, I'll be candid with you, including to my friend at the back. I'm not a supporter of Hamas myself. I never was. All my life, and to the last day of his, when I stood outside the Perse military hospital in Paris, I was a friend and a comrade and a confidant of the late President Yasser Arafat. May God rest his soul. I had a vote in Palestine, which maybe I do now. I've been given a passport. My vote would be for Marwan Barghouti, now languishing in the Israeli prison for 99 years on some charges. So I'm not a supporter of Hamas, but I am a supporter of democracy. And the project of trying to choose who represents other people is a doomed project and is ultimately bound to fail. And that's why, when we arrived in Gaza with hundreds of vehicles and hundreds of people and millions of pounds, we gave the keys to the vehicles, the contents of the vehicles, and the money we collected to the democratically elected government of Palestine. And what else could a democratically elected politician do? Was I supposed to give it to the people that the democratically elected government defeated? No. Was I supposed to walk around Gaza looking for hard luck cases to distribute the aid? I would have been in difficulty, as a hard luck case is in every house. The only dignified, democratic, and legal thing to do was to give this aid to the elected government of Palestine. And if the government in Canada doesn't like it, well, too bad. Too bad. We saw all that happened. And people tonight recited beautiful poetry about it. But it's what the reprise. You see, we were not cheated of the truth by the decision of the Israeli government to ban the journalists from reporting on the war, because the journalists were trapped inside with their cameras and with the others. We saw that little child of 3 baked black by the sun, having lain dead for 3 whole days in Zaytuna on the edge of Gaza City. We saw the ambulance man hold up her little body minus her leg and her arm, eaten by dogs as she lay dead. We saw the little girl in her hijab, crying in the rubble of her house, asking, what did I do to Israel? I'm a child, what did I do to Israel? As she gazed around the rubble of her home, now minus her mother, her father, her brothers and her sisters, an orphan, her entire family, murdered. For what? What did they do? Except being Palestinians, who didn't even want to be in Gaza, were refugees in Gaza. Refugees from where? From the ruins and the bones that our great poets talked about in the southern part of Palestine. Recently there was a debate in the British Parliament, you can see it on YouTube, in which member after member of the British Parliament stood up and announced that they had visited a place called Sidrat. As they talked about it, I imagined it must be some kind of Paris that had drawn all these parliamentarians to this town of Sidrat. And I asked them, did any of you, when you visited Sidrat, notice that it was built on the ruins of an Arab village whose people are now locked up in the Gaza Strip, and you wonder why they're firing rockets at Sidrat, which is built on the graveyard of their parents and their dreams?